Daniel Tack, you haven't even been here, 2 months, and you're already throwing out scores like 9.75? What's going on there?
That's right. Well, in this case, it's well justified. This is probably the best game I'll play all year. Maybe in several years, even.
Wow!
I know.
Such praise! I'm Andrew Reiner, everyone, and this is Game Informer's Test Chamber. We're taking a look at Dark Souls 2. We're playing on the Xbox 360 version. The PS3 version's also out there, and PC comes out in about a month. So, Daniel, let's... we just did something here. We're selecting a gift. We want to show you guys a little secret in the game. I should point out Jason Oestreicher is playing for us, so Daniel can freely talk and not have to focus on not dying. But we might die a bunch here. So we're going to get... What are we getting here, Daniel? We're getting petrified something?
Yeah, we're going to take the petrified something. So a lot of people were wondering about what this does, if it was the new pendant in this game that didn't really have any use. But there's actually a spot to use it really early in the game.
Could it have multiple uses, or is this probably it? We're going to skip all the story stuff here. You guys can explore that on your own.
I'm sure that we're not even close to solving all the secrets in Dark Souls 2, so there's certainly the potential that it could be used for something else as well.
And what class are we playing as here?
We are the Knight. It's actually an excellent starter class. It doesn't start with a shield, but you can pick up a shield very early in the game, and it has good adaptability and health. So, good stats for a new player who's going to take a few hits.
One thing we should point out about bonfires, you don't save here anymore, or you don't level up your character there anymore. That's handled in a different section.
Yes. So every time you want to level up, you'll have to head back to the hub town.
Hopefully we could show that at the end of this video.
You're going to head to the left right here.
All right. We're going to show you the secret pretty quick. Jason's going to make short work of these guys.
So these guys are really just to help you get a handle on Dark Souls 2 combat. You're supposed to beat them pretty handily.
Yeah, they had that section in Dark Souls 1, that little kind of fortress that you're in.
They did, but then they threw the Asylum Demon at you right away, and I think a lot I think a lot of players actually tried to beat him with their broken sword hilt. And
I remember dying horribly when a boulder fell down some stairs.
Yes,
and that's where I was like, okay.
I think.
Let's talk about this here. Jason's gonna taunt him. Not a good idea, but he's not gonna do anything. That is a kind of a mini boss to this area. You can reach him. Not by jumping in the water. That's what I did, and that's instant death. But as you pointed out to me, there's 2 of them down there, right?
There are actually 2 of them down there, and the second one will kind of creep up behind you if you just go for the one. They can be dealt at this stage in the game, but it's certainly challenging. They have a pretty simple pattern, but they will kill you very quickly. And there's a kind of a secret down there, too. There's a coffin in the water.
Why, hello, other player. Get your item, and let's go. Very cool. And these guys, the best accuracy maybe outside of like Green Arrow.
Absolutely.
They always find their target. Even if you're rolling, they'll like hit you and hit you as you're doing your best evasion.
They're certainly excellent archers, yes.
All right, work our way through this. This is a pretty sizable zone. There's a lot of different paths you can go down.
I think this tutorial is more friendly than Dark Souls 1. But
Is
again,
that mostly just because the boss isn't there?
There's no Asylum Demon, and it's not as confusing. You just basically go through and get a feel for the combat.
And I think we're coming up on the secret, and then we'll kind of go into what you really liked about this installment.
Sure, over here.
Yep, here it is.
So you're going to take the petrified something and actually just leave it in here.
Well, first we should listen to what happens here. So you can use smooth or silky. Jason's going to use this egg that he found that is not that one, the one over.
He can actually drop both and he'll get 2 items.
So this is the starting item. And he's going to drop this here. And what happens, Daniel?
Well, they're going to replace it with something else. And we will see what that is.
We got to wait for him to stop talking before the item highlights again.
And let's see what we got here. Twinkling Titanite. So that's a mid-grade upgrade material for weapons and armor.
Is that what you always get, or could you get
No, I've
stuff?
seen a ring that can turn you into a white phantom to confuse other players. I've also seen the channeling staff, or channeling trident, actually, which lets you dance. It's there's some pretty cool stuff that you can get out of this through the petrified something.
All right, so he's getting another item here.
Yeah, these you're going to want to take your stack of silky and smooth stones over here on a regular basis to get supplies and consumables.
And it's pretty close to the hub world, and you could use that the bonfire with the new fast travel.
You can port directly to the fire with the fast travel, yes. So
which a lot of people kind of had some concerns about, that it might ruin the experience, the Dark Souls experience. What do you think?
I went in with that same concern, and I'm happy to say I'm glad it's there. It doesn't casualize things or ruin the experience. It's just a convenience, really. It ends the frustration of having to run around the entire world to get somewhere. Like, I can't imagine how frustrating it would be to go from one of the end game areas all the way back here just to turn in stones.
And see if you get, by chance, the item you want.
Right.
All right, so we're back at the beginning here.
And players can also come back to this area here to respec their character, which is another addition to Dark Souls 2.
And we're going to kind of make short work of this zone and run all the way up to the gap in the mountain here, which will take us to the hub world.
That's right. This is where it all happens. This will take him to the
Majula.
Majula, and it's pretty breathtaking, and players will spend a lot of time here. As they move through the world, they're going to meet different NPCs, and a lot of them will come to hang out in this area where the player can interact with them and buy goods and handle other things like that. This is also the starting off point for travel through the world. Most people will go to the Forest of Giants first.
Yeah, there's this... did you ever figure out this zone over here, Daniel?
Absolutely.
Oh, you did? Of course you did.
There's you're going to find items in this game that remove petrification, so you can get past the blockage there.
So we'll let Jason kind of... Well, actually, let's show the save, or the level up. Why do I keep saying save? But the level up thing over here. There's a woman next to this tree, kind of looking out to the ocean. And when I first played this for the preview, I did like a 5-hour run-through for the magazine. I didn't know how to level up, and I was freaking out. Namco wouldn't tell me. And basically what you have to do is just keep talking to her and cycle until she tells you that she could level you up. So I talked to her once, and it was like, all right, I don't know what's going on.
Really important thing to do in this game, as in Dark Souls, is that talk to every NPC until they're out of options to talk to you, because they probably have either cool stuff or important information for you.
And look at this screen.
It's a little daunting.
It's awesome. I love it. I really love it. So, Jason, does he have enough?
So as a knight, he's probably going to want to put points in like adaptability, vitality, endurance, and vigor, and strength, depending on what his weapon choice is, will determine strength, dex, and those other things.
And we'll let Jason go about his merry way here. And Daniel, I want to talk about your review here and your time with the game. 975, huge praise. What did you really like about it? Just kind of walk me through why you think it's a game that everyone should play.
Every time you think you've got it figured out, the game throws something new at you, and that's in terms of areas, and every area is unique and has its own different challenges and enemies, and it's just, you keep going, and every challenge you meet, you're like, I'm never going to beat this, but then 10, 20 minutes later, you may have figured it out, or you may be trying something new, and that's one of the great things about Dark Souls 2 is you've always got another route to take. There's always new stuff to explore. I'm sure that I have not found everything. I'm not even close to finding everything.
Yeah, Jason, take a good look down there. Oh, no. Oh. That guy... Well, was he alive? So
he probably didn't make it. This is one of the three initial ways you can take out of town. The fourth being that route that we saw earlier.
And there's one there.
Yep.
And that will lead us to a more difficult zone than the one that Jason's going to now.
Sure, the Forest of Giants is if you want to just get started with the zone you're supposed to go to first, it's the Forest of Giants.
Jason, you should probably activate that bonfire.
Seek souls. Lord,
oh, you did? Okay.
Seek the lest this land.
This is another cool thing in Dark Souls 2. They don't start you off with a full set of flasks. You earn them as you play. And that's where they add the life gems. They're to get you through the hard times. I know people were concerned about having a consumable healing item that people would have plenty of, but later on they don't even matter.
And you did the review on the PlayStation 3 version and checked out the Xbox 360 version extensively as well. Notice any differences between them? Are they pretty similar?
They're pretty similar. I really would have liked to see this on current-gen consoles, though.
Well, PC coming in a month.
Absolutely. I'm sure it's going to be incredible on there.
And who knows? I mean, God, you got to think they're at least thinking about porting it, right?
I really hope so.
What's that message?
Quite something ahead.
So we're going to be heading to the Forest of Fallen Giants,
Yep.
which is a good starting zone.
This is where you should go first if you just are getting into the game.
Jason's going to get a little secret here. Hopefully not fall in the water. Yeah, just the level exploration and the lack of hand-holding in doing so is so satisfying.
It is satisfying. It's because you have all these challenges and they don't seem like you can overcome them, but you do. And whether that's by going and exploring new areas, I got stuck several times and I was just like, okay, I'll go back and try a different path. And either it was a secret that led me to new items or it was an entire opened up new zones altogether.
And in our, information connected age with everyone talking on social networks and stuff, this game just fits perfectly with that. There was actually, Daniel, I don't think you should have been in this. There's a reviewer thread that like Phil Kohler of Polygon and maybe 15 to 20 people that were just kind of sharing some of their discoveries with other players.
Sure.
If other reviewers, if they wanted to read them. But yeah, just that not knowing what's coming, as you pointed out, don't read a strategy guide.
Right. I actually think that really added to the experience. It was just, I was alone and I had no assistance even if I wanted it, which was just, at times it was a little disheartening, but when I actually beat the things that I was fighting, it was so much more satisfying.
And what class did you play for the review?
I played with a warrior, with a two-handed strength build using great hammers. Focusing on staggering enemies.
When I watched you play most of the time, when I go back to your desk every day, you were running around with a giant log.
I was, and that's not one of the best two-handed great hammers in the game by any means, but as in the first Dark Souls, the most important thing with any weapon is to have it upgraded to the max. So the plus 10 log got me through quite a few fights.
I think you took that into the final boss, right?
I did initially, but it turns out that weapon was not probably the ideal weapon for that battle.
Oh, these damn archers. And we're going to come across a new enemy type up here on the ladder.
Yes. And you'll see this enemy a couple times throughout the game.
I'm not sure if you would have left that guy dormant if you would have gone up the ladder after you.
He stays dormant.
Okay, good. Yeah, this area is pretty tricky on your first playthrough.
It is. This is sort of just getting you in the mode to always check behind you and always check for sleeping enemies and that kind of thing. And then later on in the game, new challenges appear that are far more sinister.
So and what's his name? He's the...
he's a Heidi Knight.
A Heidi Knight, and he won't attack until you attack him.
He will not attack unless attacked.
I don't know if it was that way in the preview build. That might have been something that they balanced. I remember him getting up right away. And Jason taunting him a little bit. Oh yeah, do your...
There's a few of them in the game. They're sort of this game's version of Dark Souls 2 Black Knights, but they're not aggressive. They are a little stronger, though.
Yep, and you want to come over here to the right.
And they generally drop Heidi weapons, which are very useful. In fact, the sword this guy drops is one of the excellent beginner items in the game.
There we go. Of course, there's trouble around every corner.
Of course.
And I don't think we're going to get into this zone, but there's kind of a fortress that we're coming on here. This is kind of part of the ramparts and all that stuff, but it kind of reminded me a little bit of Sen's Fortress, one of my favorite moments in Dark Souls 1. Not to that degree, but with the unique booby traps and stuff like that. I thought it was very well done, and some cool secrets in there, too.
There are definitely a few traps and secrets in this zone, some that go way into late game.
Oh, really?
And that's one of the cool things about this game. You're always coming back to areas and finding new things. There's a certain enemy in this game called the Pursuer, who you can actually meet in several different areas of the game. And if you can beat him outside of his boss zone, there are some special drops you can get from him.
And you got to be very careful on these. You can slip and die and lose your souls, and you'll have to come back and get them.
Yes, as always, falling is a leading cause of death in Dark Souls.
Now, what do you say? Okay, so people see your review. Maybe they avoided the first game just because of its reputation a little bit. Let's say they want to get into this series. Should they play 1 first, or should they just jump into this one?
They should absolutely play 2 first. And that's one of the things I think this game does great, is it is... The opening is more accessible than Dark Souls. So your first few hours of the game are much more accessible.
And it's not like
then it gets into the same difficulty as we come to expect from the series.
There isn't like a continuity you have to worry about. The story is very separate.
It's separate. There are certain... definitely there are aspects echoing from the first game here, but you don't need to know them.
I love it. And you do get new taunts throughout the game.
You do. You find quite a few. There are some really great nods to the first game as well in the gestures.
All right. Are we going to do this? I don't think you can backstab them.
Yeah, I've tried a few times. You can't.
That'd be a bad design.
This is really a good encounter for a new player to sort of get the feel of how, you know, the dodging and learning attacks and stuff.
The character designs are awesome.
They are incredible, and that stays... They get better and better as the game progresses.
Ja! Sorry, getting a little tense here. That needs to heal you faster.
The enemies and bosses even you fight earlier in the game have nothing on the stuff you see later.
And it's kind of funny that the enemies are so cool, yet when you get to the character creation screen, your guy looks terrible.
Yeah,
like, they did nothing to improve that aspect of the game.
I know, and I'm sort of wondering if it's intentional. Like,
it could
you're
be.
just not supposed to be special.
He's just wearing a loincloth. That's one of the classes. And they removed some of the classes. They added a couple more.
They have removed some of the classes and made some new ones, but again, the class is just a set of starting stats and gear. They really don't mean anything as you move through the game.
Better safe than sorry, Jason says. And nicely done. Well, we're not making this look very Dark Souls-y. Jason's just rocking this game.
He is. He's doing well.
And blindfolded, wearing a weird mask.
So this weapon he's just picked up is an excellent starting weapon.
Does he have enough?
He does not have enough dexterity to use it currently, but he does have quite a few souls.
So we'll get to a bonfire here. All right.
That weapon can take most players through the early part of the game if they are melee, if they want to go melee.
And very similar interface to Dark Souls 1.
Very similar, a little cleaner, but yeah, still about the same.
So you can cycle items that you have in your hands.
Yes, one thing new is that you can have up to 3 different items in weapon slots. So,
and there's something where you can light torches. In my time with the game, I didn't see a benefit to that. What?
There are a few cool things.
What purpose is that?
So beyond seeing, which can become, later on in the game, there are some areas that are pitch black, and without a torch you won't see anything. But additionally to that, they've also added some enemies that fear fire. So having a torch on your person can make those battles a little easier. If you remember Tomb of Giants or the Catacombs from the first game, there are places that are completely black without a torch, and there's lots of scary things in there.
Should we send Jason into the other path? I think we should.
Well, he's got with that sword, he should have a much easier time since it does do lightning damage, and those enemies will be slower after they're hit.
Why do you hate me?
Let's do it, Jason. Let's level up your dude. And she moves over to the fire.
She travels a little bit around this area.
And there are other NPCs. There's a talking cat that wants to sell you rings.
This town will fill up with all kinds of people as you meet them throughout the game.
Seek lest
That's not one of them?
That is not one of them.
All right, so we need dexterity.
We need at least 10. Yep.
There we go.
Or was it 11?
Better safe than sorry. Do it again. That's what we're going to keep saying in this video. Better safe than sorry.
We'll probably need it later. I noticed when I played through, I found so many weapons that were more dex-based in this game. From halberds and all kinds of cool things. Yes, this is an excellent weapon.
And what class should people avoid on their first playthrough?
Probably the deprived, since they don't know,
Well,
exactly
that's
what they want to be. Right.
Don't say sorcerer.
I'm not going to say sorcerer.
I love sorcerer.
Sorcerer is fun and very viable. I'm trying to think if there's one that's not ready for combat, but I think that's why they actually cut down the classes, and everything seems very viable in their own, with their starting kit.
Yeah, I noticed one was, what was it, the bandit?
Yes, the bandit.
Where you ended up getting like a trident weapon that just made your character dance.
The trident was from the petrified something trick that we did earlier.
Very much. And do please come again.
But that item in particular, that weapon, was for if you're teaming up with other people, right?
Yes, it does give a boost to your allies.
Jason's going to use a shield, something that you didn't do on your first playthrough.
I was using a shield for certain encounters.
And then the log happened.
Even with the log, I was using a shield at times. It's really difficult to...
How would you do that? You like put it on your knees or something?
Well, they let you use a quote-unquote two-handed weapon and a shield at the same time.
Okay,
you just have
cool.
to swap back and forth. Like he's doing there. See, he's switching to two-hand and one-hand.
Very nice.
So you can make any weapon in this game a two-hander.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Any other little changes that you noticed?
Oh, there are so many.
Well, yeah, let's just kind of walk through
Jason hasn't died yet, but if you did, you'd see that his health would be reduced. That's something that players may remember from Demon Souls. So after your repeated deaths, your character will become weaker and weaker and more hollow. You can use the human effigies to restore that to full. And it becomes a pretty important mechanic, as the human effigies are a limited item, and they can actually be used to do some other things later on in the game.
He needs to go throw the switch here.
Yeah, in fact, my first playthrough, I didn't discover that switch for a while. So...
Go up the stairs, and it's on the other side. It's on the wall.
And because I didn't see the switch, even though it's so obvious, I ended up taking a path to a much darker area early in the game.
Right there. So just pull that little bad boy. Good muscle tone to be able to get that down.
Yeah.
One-handed, even.
So they've also done some interesting things with the stats that are very relevant in this game. Before, people used to just stack... vitality and endurance, because endurance used to give you both weight load and stam. Now they don't do that. It just gives you stam, and they've moved the weight load over to a new stat called vigor. So players have to divide up stats much more evenly now if they want to just do a build that can, get a lot of swings and carry a lot of weight. So I think they want players to be more balanced.
So here's where you go if you want to punish yourself in early game.
Now this is a very fair early game zone. As you can
Daniel.
see, there's a fire right to the.
We
the
know
right
you're
there.
good at the game, but this is pretty tough.
Not with the Heidi sword will make things a lot easier. There's a fire right there, which I.
How do you get to it? Oh, down there.
Just
okay.
walk right down the trail. Yeah,
Is that guy going to come after you as you do it?
he will. But he should be able to reset him by just sitting at the fire.
Ah, right. And that's another thing too is there are good zones for farming and getting souls. Oh God!
He was too close. Yeah.
But at the same time, enemies will stop regenerating at a certain point.
That is correct. I've heard it's 15 kills. Basically, after a certain number of times an enemy has been defeated, they will no longer respawn.
Daniel, this is just a standard enemy.
This is just a standard enemy.
Oh. So cool looking.
And the thing about Dark Souls is standard enemies will kill you. That's just the balance of the game.
And I forgot, this is developed by From Software. They've done a remarkable job with this series. I'm glad it's gained traction and people are loving it. I've been hearing that it's been selling out at the midnight releases.
That's incredible. It's From has been making this game sort of in different forms for around 20 years with the Shadow Tower and King's Field. Yeah,
I love
and
King's
it's just
Field.
I think every time it gets more perfect. Oh, see that he got staggered there, and
Almost like this is a difficult zone.
This is one of the 2 starting zones. But again, yeah, for the streamlined experience, new players should go to the Forest of Giants and clear it out first. It has an easy boss and is generally a great way to learn the game. And again, that's why I think Dark Souls 2 is just more accessible. Not because it's easier, because it sort of... lets you get your feet wet first before getting to the real challenges.
And they're pretty generous with the life gems.
They are. Again, I think the life gems just kind of ease you into the experience.
All right, there's our first death, but that should be a quick way of getting our we should be able to get there quick to get our gems, our souls back.
We're right there at that fire, so you'll find that a lot in this game. There's not as much, I guess, distance between bonfires. There are plenty of secret bonfires that you have to unlock through different ways. But in general, it is more focused on getting you to the boss and battling the boss, although there are some really, really crazy areas that I think rival Sen's Fortress in terms of difficulty moving through.
And this is published by Namco Bandai or Bandai Namco?
Whichever they're going with right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they're at right now. Oh, Jason.
Ooh, sneaky. A nice attempt at a backstab there.
But they released it with a bunch of different versions, and we got a collector's edition here at work, which is very cool. It comes with a statue of kind of the fake character that they created for their trailers and all their marketing, kind of like the generic Commander Shepard from all of Mass Effect.
You can actually get that set of armor in the game.
Okay, cool. So you could become that guy. I guess you could be a Shepard too if you don't want to alter your character.
It's actually incredible how many armor sets are actually in this game. I'm sure I've only seen half, and there are oodles.
All right, got our souls back.
Oh, that's very cool. The cracked blue orbs and red orbs allow you to do invasions and such. I didn't get a chance to explore online play during my review.
Yeah, those servers just came on today, right?
Yes.
Or late last night.
Late last night. The throwing knives are a great option in this game.
That did not faze him much.
In fact, if you're having trouble with these big, slow-moving guys later on in the game and you have poison throwing knives, those are an excellent thing to do. You can just sort of throw a stack at someone and run away. And
they'll just take them out, or
the poison will tick down and kill them. Yeah. So if you find yourself struggling against a slow-moving opponent later on, that's the way to do it.
Quite the range here. And I had a cool moment. Well, maybe this is too much of a spoiler, but I'll just say this. I ran into a boss-type enemy with like a little cutscene before he came out, and then he annihilated me. And I went back to battle him again.
And he wasn't there.
And he was gone.
So you're talking, again, I mentioned him earlier, actually. He's called the Pursuer.
Okay.
Since he chases you, right? I guess I'm assuming that.
Is he kind of like Nemesis from Resident Evil 3?
He appears in a few different spots in this game, and his own fog gate. I don't know where you fought him. It was probably in the Forest of Giants, right?
It was on I went up a ladder and found him.
Yep. So he can appear there. I know he's got a spot that he can appear in this zone.
And I battled him again and died horribly. That was the end of my preview.
Right, so he has his own fog gate. And even after you've beaten him there, he can appear in these other areas. And he's much harder to beat in those areas because he has a timer. He'll actually leave if the fight doesn't end. So you need a good enough weapon to be able to kill him quickly. So
I'm wondering if in that first encounter where he appeared above that ladder, if you could kill him there. And then what happens behind that fog gate or mist gate?
I'm guessing he still stays in the fog gate. I'm just a guess because, again, he does appear in these areas.
But
even
maybe
after
he drops
he's been defeated. He does have excellent drops if you can defeat him in the off
So that's
areas.
probably what happens then. Well, that's something I want to do. We'll take on this one enemy, and then I think we're going to call it here. But I would, if you're playing, I'd go the other way first, level up a bit, and then come here.
If you're new to the series, absolutely. And there's a couple of other ways to make the game more challenging if you really want to get crazy, and you can do those right as soon as you get to Majula. There's a covenant you can join called Covenant of the Champions. You simply run up behind the church and join it, and the game will be much harder.
And even before that, one of your starting items, I believe, will make enemies more aggressive or something like that.
And
right?
you can actually find those throughout the game. They're called bonfire ascetics, and if you put them in a bonfire, it makes all the enemies in the area and the boss essentially move up a game mode. So you'll move to New Game Plus immediately.
For better drops, I would imagine?
Absolutely. If there are certain drops you
man.
can... Yes.
Did you do that at all? Did you go back and...
I have not, but I definitely on my second playthrough here, I'm planning to do it on harder difficulty.
Let's pull the switch and turn off this test chamber. Thank you, Daniel, for showing us this and lending your expert knowledge. And then Jason Oestreicher for doing a hell of a job on the controls. We'll see you next time.